shouldn't speculate. Bubba wasn't mad at Bell. 5 words, posted publicly. And they dismantled hours of assumptions, viral clips, broadcast drama, and social media outrage in a single breath. The man who wrote them was Freddie Kraft, Bubba Wallace's spotter, the person plugged into Wallace's helmet communication for every single lap of every single race. Not a fan, not a media personality. The most informed voice available on what Wallace was actually feeling that afternoon. And Kraft's message was direct. The story everyone was telling was wrong. So how did an entire internet get it so completely backwards? To answer that, the afternoon at Watkins Glen has to be reconstructed from the beginning. Because what looked like a war between 2 Toyota teammates was something else entirely by the time the full picture came together. Sunday, May 10, 2026, Mother's Day, Watkins Glen International. The Go Bowling at the Glen, 100 laps across the 2.45-mile road course carved through the hills of upstate New York. At the very front of the field, the afternoon delivered exactly what road course weekends have been delivering with increasing regularity in recent seasons. A Shane Van Gisbergen masterclass. Van Gisbergen seized pole position and dictated the pace from the earliest laps. A green flag pit cycle temporarily cycled him back through traffic, a minor disruption that lasted only a handful of laps before he worked his way back to the front. With 8 laps remaining, he cleared Ty Gibbs and opened a gap that only grew wider with every passing corner. Final result at the stripe, Van Gisbergen ahead of Michael McDowell by over 7 seconds. Ty Gibbs 3rd, Chase Briscoe 4th, Tyler Reddick 5th. Dominant, controlled, exactly the kind of performance that has made Van Gisbergen the driver everyone else measures themselves against on road courses. Behind the leaders, the afternoon looked nothing like that. Christopher Bell salvaged a 21st place finish. Bubba Wallace came home 29th, 11 positions behind where he started. 2 Toyota drivers, 2 damaged Sundays, and 1 post-race moment that would generate more discussion than the race result itself. Wallace's path to that 29th place finish did not happen in one moment. It unraveled across the final stretch of the race in stages, and understanding those stages is the only way to understand what happened on pit road afterward. Wallace had started from 18th and was managing a competitive afternoon when the floor fell out from under him. With approximately 15 laps remaining, John Hunter Nemechek arrived from behind, carrying a significant tire advantage. Running on fresher rubber, Nemechek made his move through turn 1, and the contact that followed sent Wallace into a spin. Track position accumulated over dozens of laps, erased immediately. The critical detail that social media ignored almost instantly. Nemechek caused that spin, not Bell. Post-race reporting established that Nemechek had the tire life to exercise patience and wait for a cleaner opportunity. He chose an aggressive move instead. Wallace had no realistic way to defend against it. The number 23 rejoined the race with damage already done, and only a handful of laps remaining to limit the bleeding. That was the condition Wallace carried into the pit road sequence that became the actual source of post-race tension. 8 laps to go. The number 23 crew called Wallace in. Straightforward instruction under normal circumstances. The circumstances were not normal. Working through the S's section past turn 1, Wallace had Bell and Todd Gilliland pushing hard directly behind him. Out of the carousel, Bell found traction and drove his car alongside Wallace on the right side, heading toward turn 6. At that precise moment, a message crossed Bell's team radio. The number 23 is pitting. The timing made that message worthless. Bell was already committed and running door-to-door with Wallace when the transmission arrived. Pulling out of that position with Gilliland closing behind was not a viable option. It would have created a separate problem immediately. Both cars held their lines through the corner. Bell locked to the inside lane, the exact piece of road Wallace needed to reach pit entry. Cody Ware eliminated the remaining alternative. His damaged car was circulating slowly around the circuit, blocking the secondary line Wallace could have otherwise used to navigate across. Surrounded on both sides with no clean path available, Wallace had only one option: abandon his momentum completely, brake hard, and wait, while Bell, Gilliland, and Riley Herbst all passed before pit road finally opened up. 3 positions surrendered in the final laps of a race already falling apart. A starting spot of 18th became a finishing position of 29th, and Wallace carried every piece of that sequence with him when he climbed out of the car. FS1 was broadcasting post-race interviews with the front runners when the director switched cameras to pit road. What those cameras found immediately overtook everything else from the afternoon. Wallace had located Bell and was standing directly in front of him, animated, continuous, not holding a single thing back, hands moving constantly, words delivered with unmistakable intensity, every frustration from the previous 20 laps pouring out in real time. Bell stood opposite him, absorbing the full force of it, composed, still, expression completely neutral, listening, responding occasionally. At one point, the exchange appeared to be concluding, Wallace stepping back. Then, something Bell said brought him straight back in for another round. From the Fox broadcast booth, Kevin Harvick watched the scene develop and offered the 5 words that immediately circulated everywhere. "I don't think we're good right here." One observation, enough to confirm what the entire viewing audience was already thinking. The clip was on X before Victory Lane ceremonies wrapped up, and the reaction came in like a flood. What followed on social media revealed something important, not just about this incident, but about how a segment of NASCAR fans consistently engage with anything involving Bubba Wallace. The comments targeting Wallace arrived immediately. One user wrote, "I forgot everyone is supposed to hurt their own lap times, just for Bubba." Fan Chris Osborne pushed further. "Christopher Bell has forgotten more about racing than Bubba will ever know. He's literally been in the best equipment for years and gets embarrassed by his teammate every week." Within minutes, the actual pit road timing sequence had completely vanished from the conversation. What replaced it was a career audit. Wallace's results history, his equipment, his performance relative to teammates. The racing incident became a launching point for something far more personal. User Ken framed the competitive argument this way: "So, what's the drama queen's beef? Is Bell supposed to let the 2 cars behind him pass him while he gives Bubba room to stay in front of him to the pit entry? Hell no. That argument has genuine racing logic supporting it. Bell carried Gilliland on his bumper. Giving Wallace extra space would have cost Bell his own positions. Taking an available run is standard racing behavior. Nothing unusual about it." Additional comments kept landing. "If he was being called to pit road to serve a penalty, it's his responsibility to get out of the way of cars still racing. Any respectable racer knows this." Then came the comments that dropped racing entirely. "I think we all know the real reason." Coded language that surfaces reliably whenever Wallace is involved in post-race controversy, pointing towards something completely disconnected from pit entry windows or corner sequences. Wallace-related incidents follow a documented path. Racing discussion opens the thread. Personal criticism fills the middle, and coded commentary closes it out. The sport becomes context. Wallace becomes the subject. Not every voice online skipped past the actual evidence. Stephen Torto published one of the more carefully constructed accounts of the on-track sequence. "Okay, here's what I think. Bubba Wallace might have been upset with Christopher Bell over. This was coming to 8 to go. Bubba was called to pit road in the S's past turn 1 with Bell and Todd Gilliland on his bumper. But coming out of the carousel, Bell got a run to Bubba's right side, and the 20 team didn't inform him that the 23 was pitting until Bell was alongside him. It put Bubba in a tough spot getting to pit road, as he couldn't just try to cut across Bell's nose. Cody Ware was there and limping around, and he had to slow down to let Bell, Gilliland, and Riley Herbst pass just so he could make pit entry. Torto included a qualifier that gave his account credibility rather than undermining it. I didn't hear Bubba say any crossword towards Bell over his radio, so it's hard to know definitively. That honesty exposes the core problem with everything the internet was building. Every theory, every attack, every coded comment, all of it constructed on top of assumption. Nobody outside that garage had confirmed information about what those two drivers were actually saying. A camera captured body language. Fans built the rest entirely from imagination. Which brings everything back to Freddie Kraft and those 5 words that opened this story. Kraft spent 100 laps at Watkins Glen as the voice in Wallace's ear, feeding traffic updates, positioning information, strategy calls, and everything else a driver needs processed in real time at racing speed. He knows how Wallace communicates under pressure. He knows the specific difference between a driver directing anger at another competitor and a driver processing broader frustration out loud. When the online speculation reached a volume that demanded a response, Kraft chose clarity over silence. You should speculate. Bubba wasn't mad at Bell. The most reliable account of this entire episode, until either Wallace or Bell says something that directly contradicts it. The real question this episode raises has nothing to do with pit entry windows or radio timing. It has everything to do with why a segment of NASCAR fans responds to Bubba Wallace's name in a post-race headline the same way every single time, moving from the racing incident to the personal attack to the coded language in the space of a single comment thread. That pattern is more revealing than anything that happened at Turn 6 on Mother's Day 2026. Was the reaction online proportionate to what actually occurred, or did it expose something that goes well beyond this race? Drop your take in the comments. Hit subscribe. New NASCAR content every week. No filler, no fluff. Comment your take. Did the internet manufacture a story that was never there? Pass this along. Someone you know is still running with the wrong version of events.